You know that moment when your heart starts racing the second you see that familiar name lighting up your phone again. After all the nights you spent wondering if you'd ever hear from her, after all the hours you replayed every memory in your head, she finally decides to come back. It feels like the storm has ended, like the sun is peeking through the clouds you thought would never break. But before you rush to reply, before you let your emotions drown out your wisdom, take a deep breath. Because this is the most crucial moment you'll ever face. This is the moment that will define whether you keep repeating the same cycle of hurt and hope, or whether you finally reclaim your power. It's so easy to slip back into old patterns, to forget the pain that pushed you to grow. It's tempting to welcome her back without a single question, because your heart still believes in the version of her that made you feel alive. But you must remember, not every return is a sign of love reborn. Sometimes it's simply a test to see if you've learned to value yourself enough to stand strong. When someone who walked out of your life tries to find their way back, there's a sudden shift in the air you breathe. It's almost as if all the questions you asked yourself in the dark hours of the night are about to be answered. You feel your heartbeat trip over itself when you see that notification, that message you thought would never come. Your mind starts racing, remembering every sweet word, every soft moment, every time you believed this person was the answer to the ache you carried inside. But before you let that surge of nostalgia convince you to open the door without a second thought, you need to pause. You need to stand perfectly still in this delicate space between what was and what could be, because this pause is not just a moment, it is a lifeline. It is the very thing that will protect you from repeating every heartbreak you barely survived. Most people will tell you that if someone comes back, it must mean they realized your worth. They will say it proves they never stopped caring, and maybe that's true. Maybe part of them did miss the way your laughter filled the empty corners of their life. Maybe they did remember the warmth of your touch when the nights turned cold. But feelings alone don't erase the reality of what happened. Feelings don't heal the wounds you were left to dress on your own. And feelings definitely don't guarantee that this time will be any different. So you must give yourself the grace to pause, to take inventory of every moment you thought you would never recover from, and to ask yourself the question no one else can answer. If they had never reached out again, would you have eventually found peace without them? This pause is where you get honest about why you want to reply so quickly. Is it because you genuinely believe they have changed, or is it because part of you still needs their validation to feel like you're enough? Be unflinchingly real about this, because the most dangerous thing you can do is confuse longing with love. Longing is an emptiness that tricks you into thinking that any form of attention is better than none. Love, on the other hand, is a choice that must be made with open eyes, not just an open heart. When you pause before responding, you give yourself the chance to see the difference. You allow the haze of hope to clear long enough to recognize whether this return is a gift or a test. You might feel a pang of guilt for taking your time. You might hear a voice in your mind telling you that you're being cold, that you're pushing away someone who is finally trying to do the right thing. But you are not obligated to surrender your boundaries just because someone comes back with remorse. You are not required to silence your doubts because they suddenly realize what they lost. The pause is how you respect your own healing. It's how you protect the parts of yourself that grew stronger when you thought you were being abandoned. You have every right to sit with your feelings without rushing to soothe theirs. You have every right to say, "I need a moment," and mean it. Think about all the nights you stayed awake, replaying every conversation, trying to figure out where things went wrong. Remember how you questioned your worth, how you wondered if you were too much or not enough. Recall how you picked yourself up off the bathroom floor when the sadness felt like it would never end. These were not small battles. They were moments that shaped the way you see yourself. They taught you that no matter how much you love someone, you cannot force them to choose you. They taught you that your heart is worth more than apologies that come too late. This pause is your chance to honor every version of yourself that had to learn these lessons the hard way. If you rush to reply, if you answer with the same softness you always did, you might think you're showing compassion. But sometimes compassion without discernment becomes self-sacrifice. You don't have to pretend you're unaffected, but you also don't have to prove that you're still waiting. The truth is, you are allowed to feel everything at once: relief, resentment, longing, anger, and still not know what to do. That's why you pause, because clarity doesn't always arrive in the first wave of emotion. Sometimes it comes quietly, after you've given yourself permission to breathe without pressure. Let this moment be a testament to how far you've come. You are not the same person who used to flinch every time you were left on read. You are not the same person who thought love meant sacrificing your needs to keep someone else comfortable. You are wiser now. You know that your worth does not depend on whether someone comes or goes. You know that love is not proven by who returns. It is proven by who stays and shows up consistently. The pause is where you remember that. It's where you reclaim your power to decide what you will and won't allow back into your life. There will be a temptation to romanticize their return. You'll tell yourself stories about fate, about how maybe the universe was always going to bring you back together. But fate doesn't erase accountability. Destiny doesn't dismiss the fact that you spent weeks, months, maybe even years, patching yourself back together. This person doesn't get to re-enter your life without facing the reality of the damage that was done. And you don't have to apologize for needing time to process that. Pausing doesn't mean you're bitter. It means you're finally putting your own heart first. You might worry that if you don't answer right away, they'll think you don't care. But anyone who truly respects you will understand that you are not here to be someone's emotional safety net. They will know that your silence is not punishment but self-respect. If your pause causes them to walk away again, let that be the evidence you need. Because the person who is meant for you will never make you feel like your boundaries are a burden. They will honor the space you need to feel safe again. They will wait for your clarity instead of demanding your compliance. While you pause, ask yourself the questions that matter. What has this time apart taught you about your own strength? What did you learn about the kind of love you want and the kind you can no longer accept? Does their return align with the vision you have for your life, or does it feel like a familiar detour that always leads to disappointment? Sit with these questions, even if they make you uncomfortable. Sit with them, because this is how you make sure you don't lose yourself all over again. It's so easy to convince yourself that this time will be different simply because you miss them. But longing is not proof of compatibility. Missing someone doesn't mean they are right for you. It only means that you are human, that your heart remembers what it was like to feel wanted. You can acknowledge the ache without surrendering to it. You can feel the pull without letting it dictate your choices. The pause is where you remember that you deserve a love that doesn't make you question your worth. A love that doesn't vanish the second things get hard. You have survived the silence before. You have learned how to find joy in your own company. You have discovered that your life has purpose and meaning even without their presence. Don't let a single message make you forget all of that. Don't let a moment of reconnection make you abandon the peace you fought so hard to build. When you pause, you honor the truth that your life did not end when they left. It grew. It evolved. It became something beautiful in its own right. There is no urgency here. There is no deadline that requires you to respond before you're ready. Take your time, listen to your intuition. Let your heart and mind work together to decide what comes next. Because when you pause before you respond, you are not only protecting yourself from repeating old wounds, you are proving to yourself that you are no longer available for love that requires you to shrink. You are no longer willing to trade your peace for the illusion of connection. You are choosing yourself first, and that is the most powerful thing you can ever do. When someone who walked out of your life shows up at your door again, you will feel a storm of emotions you can barely name. Your heart may leap with hope. Your stomach may tighten with dread. Your mind will start to spin all the memories you thought you had safely buried. You will remember the good times, the softness of their voice when they whispered that you were the only one, the way their arms felt like a promise you could finally trust. But you will also remember the silence, the broken plans, the moments when you felt invisible and unworthy, and you wondered what you had done wrong to deserve such distance. This swirl of feelings will tempt you to make yourself small just to keep the peace, to rush into forgiveness because you're so afraid that if you set any boundaries, they will vanish again. But this is exactly when you must stand firm in the truth you learned while you were picking up the pieces they left behind. You have every right to set boundaries that protect your heart from harm. You don't owe anyone unrestricted access to your life simply because they have returned with words of regret. You don't have to pretend everything is fine just because they finally decided to come back. The space you create between their apology and your acceptance is not unkindness. It is self-respect. When you set boundaries without guilt, you are telling yourself that your needs matter as much as anyone else's. You are declaring that love is not just about feeling desired, but about feeling safe. It can feel uncomfortable to look someone in the eye and tell them that the way they left you shattered your trust. It can feel cruel to say out loud that you won't be able to slip back into the same closeness you once shared, but this honesty is the only way you will ever know whether this new beginning is real. Because if someone cannot sit with the discomfort of your truth, if they can't accept that their actions had consequences, then they have not changed in any way that will heal you. A love that asks you to ignore your own pain so someone else can feel better is not a love you can afford to keep. You may feel guilty for making things hard. You may tell yourself that if you were more forgiving, more understanding, more patient, this reunion could be smooth and sweet and effortless. But you are not responsible for making it easy for someone to come back into your life. They chose to leave. They chose to step away when you were willing to give everything. And if they now want a place at your side again, they must be willing to earn it. Your boundaries are not punishments. They are the conditions of a healthy relationship that will not collapse the moment things become difficult. Boundaries sound like, I am willing to hear what you have to say, but I will need time to process it before I decide anything. They sound like, I can't pretend the past didn't happen, and I need you to understand that trust will take time to rebuild. They sound like, I will not tolerate the same patterns that hurt me before, and I expect honesty, respect, and consistency if you wish to stay in my life. These are not demands born of bitterness. They are expectations born of self-awareness. They are the bare minimum you have every right to require if you are going to let this person close to your heart again. You might worry that speaking this plainly will scare them away. You might think that if you are too direct about what you need, they will decide it's easier to leave than to stay and do the work. Let them. Let anyone who is unwilling to rise to the level of your standards walk out the door without a fight, because you are not here to convince anyone to treat you well. You are not here to negotiate for the barest scraps of loyalty. You are not here to compromise your self-worth in exchange for temporary affection. You are here to build something lasting and true, and anything that cannot survive the clarity of your boundaries was never meant for you in the first place. It's easy to confuse boundaries with ultimatums, but they are not the same. An ultimatum is a threat meant to control someone else's behavior. A boundary is a declaration of what you will and will not allow in your life. You are not telling them what to do. You are telling them what you will do if your needs are not respected. You are saying, this is what safety looks like for me. This is how trust will be rebuilt. This is what I require in order to feel loved. And if they cannot meet you there, you are free to walk away knowing you did not betray yourself for the hope of something that was never real. Boundaries can feel heavy because they will sometimes cost you relationships you thought you couldn't live without. They will cost you the illusion of closeness that comes from pretending everything is fine. But what you gain is worth so much more than what you lose. You gain a sense of integrity that will carry you through every disappointment. You gain the ability to look yourself in the mirror and know that you did not abandon your own heart to keep someone else comfortable. You gain the freedom to love without fear because you know you are strong enough to walk away from anything that asks you to shrink. You are not difficult for needing reassurance. You are not unreasonable for requiring consistency. You are not hard to love because you want to know that the next time someone says they care about you, they mean it with their actions, not just their words. Anyone who makes you feel like your boundaries are too much is simply telling you that they are unwilling to love you in a way that honors your worth. Let that knowledge guide you. Let it free you from the urge to beg for crumbs of affection. You are not here to prove that you are worthy. You already are. When they come back and you set your boundaries, some people will try to make you feel guilty for not immediately folding back into old habits. They will say you've changed, that you've become closed off or guarded. Let them say what they will, you have changed, and you should be proud of that. You have learned that your heart is not an open door for anyone who decides to return when it's convenient. You have learned that your peace is more valuable than any fleeting comfort. You have learned that you can love deeply without losing yourself in the process. In the past, you may have silenced your needs because you thought it was the only way to keep someone by your side. You may have swallowed your pain just to avoid conflict. You may have convinced yourself that if you were easy enough to love, they would stay. But love that costs you your self-respect is not love, it is dependency. And you have outgrown that version of yourself. You have earned the right to be loved in a way that feels steady and real. You have earned the right to ask for what you need without apology. There is nothing wrong with wanting proof that things will be different this time. There is nothing shameful about needing time to trust again. Real love is not offended by your boundaries. Real love will not punish you for needing reassurance. Real love will not walk away simply because you expect consistency. It will stay, it will listen, it will honor the work you've done to heal, and if what's being offered to you now cannot meet that standard, you are free to let it go. Boundaries are the filter that separate those who are meant to stay from those who are only passing through. They are the test that reveals whether someone is here for the long haul or simply because they are lonely. When you stand firm in your truth, you will lose people who are never willing to love you well. But you will keep the most important person, you will keep your self-respect, your dignity, your peace, and there is no relationship in the world worth more than that. Setting boundaries without guilt is an act of love for yourself and for the relationship. It creates the possibility of something new, something healthier than what came before. It gives the other person a chance to rise to the occasion, to prove with their actions that they are worthy of a second chance. But even if they can't, you will know that you honored yourself first. You will know that you didn't abandon the person you became in their absence. You will know that you have finally learned to love yourself enough to walk away from anything that asks you to settle for less than you deserve. There comes a time when the heart must make a decision that feels like it could break you in two. A moment when you look at the face you once thought you could never live without, and you feel the old ache rising in your chest like a tide you cannot hold back. Everything in you wants to surrender to that familiar comfort, to let yourself believe that love alone is enough to make it work this time. You think about all the moments you shared, the laughter, the way their hand felt in yours, the promises whispered late at night, and you almost forget how much it cost you to keep loving them when they stopped showing up. But deep down, there is a voice you can no longer ignore, a quiet truth that grows louder every time you pretend not to hear it. If welcoming them back means betraying the person you became in their absence, you know you cannot go back. Even if it hurts more than anything you've ever felt, you must choose yourself. Choosing yourself does not mean you are hard or bitter or incapable of forgiveness. It means you have learned the difference between love and attachment, between desire and self-abandonment. You have learned that no matter how much your heart wants to believe in the story you wrote together, a relationship that asks you to shrink will always end in the same kind of emptiness. You have seen firsthand how easy it is to lose yourself when you are desperate to keep someone else. You have felt the hollow ache of wondering if you will ever be enough, and you have finally discovered that the only way to fill that emptiness is to stand in your truth, no matter how lonely that truth can feel. There will be moments when you will question everything. You will wonder if you are being too proud, too cautious, too unwilling to take a risk. You will replay every memory that makes your chest tighten, every sweet moment that convinces you this could still be the love you hoped for. You will feel the pull of the past, the seductive promise that maybe this time everything will be different, and maybe it could be, but the question is not whether they could love you better. The question is whether you can trust yourself to stay true to who you are, even in the face of that longing. There is no loneliness quite like the loneliness of letting go when your heart still cares. It is a cold, sharp ache that wakes you up in the middle of the night. It is the silence that follows the goodbye you never wanted to say. But this is the kind of loneliness that heals you, the kind that teaches you that your own company is not a punishment but a sanctuary. It is in this space that you finally understand that you do not need anyone else to complete you. You were never broken. You were simply learning how to stop giving away your power to people who did not know how to honor it. Sometimes love is not meant to be reclaimed. Sometimes it is meant to teach you what you will never accept again. You can still be grateful for what you shared. You can still wish them well. But you are not obligated to stay in a story that requires you to silence your own needs. You do not have to prove your worth by giving unlimited chances to someone who only showed up when it was convenient. You can close the door with grace. You can walk away with compassion. And you can trust that what is meant for you will never require you to sacrifice your self-respect. It will hurt. There is no way around that. Your heart will ache for the version of them you fell in love with, the version you believed in with everything you had. You will feel the grief of losing not just a person, but the future you imagined together. But grief is not the enemy. Grief is proof that you loved bravely, that you cared enough to hope. It is also proof that you are alive, that you are capable of feeling deeply and honestly. Let yourself feel it all. Let yourself cry, let yourself miss them, and then remind yourself that this pain is temporary, but the peace that comes from choosing yourself will last far longer than any moment of longing ever could. When someone comes back after disappearing, it is easy to confuse their return with redemption. You want to believe that the time apart was what they needed to realize how much you mattered. You want to think that this is the happy ending you were always meant to have. But the truth is, someone who truly values you will not make you question your worth in the first place. They will not leave you to wonder why you weren't enough. They will not disappear and then expect you to open your arms without hesitation. Real love is consistent. Real love is steady. Real love does not come and go like the seasons. Choosing yourself means trusting that you can survive without the person you once thought was essential to your happiness. It means believing that your life still has beauty and meaning, even if you never hear from them again. It means understanding that love is not proven by how many times you forgive someone who keeps hurting you. Love is proven by how you show up for yourself when no one else will. It is proven by the way you honor your own needs, the way you refuse to abandon your heart just to keep someone else comfortable. You are allowed to walk away from anything that asks you to forget your own value. You are allowed to let go of the hope that this time will be different. You are allowed to say, I still care about you, but I care about myself more. And you are allowed to grieve that choice without shame. Because healing is not linear. Some days you will feel certain that you did the right thing. Other days you will ache with regret. But even on the hardest days, you will know deep down that you are no longer willing to betray yourself. Choosing yourself is not a one-time decision. It is a practice you return to every time your heart wants to settle for less. It is the voice inside you that says, I deserve more than this, even when your loneliness begs you to take what you can get. It is the courage to sit in the discomfort of your own boundaries. It is the strength to trust that what is meant for you will never require you to abandon your own needs. It is the quiet conviction that you are worthy of a love that feels like peace, not chaos. If they come back and you find that you still love them, that doesn't mean you have to give them access to your life again. Love is not always a reason to stay. Sometimes it is a reason to let go with grace. You can love someone and still choose to walk away. You can love someone and still know that they are not your forever. You can love someone and still understand that your story with them has reached its final chapter. And you can trust that letting them go does not make your love any less real. It simply means you are ready to write a new story, one where you are no longer waiting to be chosen because you have already chosen yourself. You are not here to be someone's lesson. You are not here to be a placeholder until they figure out what they want. You are not here to be an option they can return to when they are lonely. You are here to live fully, to love deeply, to honor the truth of your own heart. And sometimes that means making the hardest choice of all. The choice to walk away from the person you still care for because you finally care for yourself more. When the ache feels unbearable, remind yourself that you have survived heartbreak before. You have rebuilt yourself from the ground up. You have learned how to create joy in the quiet moments, how to find beauty in your own company. This strength did not come from the easy days. It came from the nights when you thought you couldn't go on and you kept going anyway. It came from every time you chose to believe in your own worth when someone else could not see it. It came from the decision to stop settling for love that left you feeling empty. You do not have to be perfect to be worthy. You do not have to have all the answers to know that this is the right choice. You only have to trust that you are no longer available for love that costs you your peace. You only have to trust that you deserve a life where you are loved fully, without conditions or excuses. And you only have to trust that even in your moments of doubt, you are doing the bravest thing you could ever do. You are choosing yourself. When someone returns after leaving you behind, remember this. You don't have to rush, you don't have to prove anything, and you don't have to lose yourself again. Take your time, set your boundaries. And if loving them means abandoning your own heart, have the courage to walk away, because the most powerful choice you will ever make is choosing yourself, no matter how much it hurts.